Alright, welcome back to Terra Invicta, where our battle cruiser actions continue. HF-01 is reinforced with a third battleship. Actually, no, I was about to send it back out, but the question is how long until the next Super Emu is done? 35 days. So in 35 days, the Solaris class upgrade of the Super Emu will be available, and then we'll send HF-01 out here to pinch off one of these alien fleets, but also do a test. I just want to see what the success chance is against a surface base. Charlie's Chasm here isn't a particularly good mining location, but it has no marine facilities or anything like that. It just has the fusion reactor farms and the mines. So I want to see how a full monitor full of advanced marine units does against the base, or whether we need something a little bit more advanced. In any case, I'll wait about a month for that to happen. In the meantime, we're going to be busy on planet Earth. I'll also check in at Jupiter. Alright, Battlefleet Jupiter has identified an opportunity to engage an enemy fleet. The issue is there's a dreadnought present, and this is a bit of a problem. The dreadnoughts are powerful vessels. Whereas we've been engaging 4,000-ton frigates and 2,000-ton destroyers, now we're taking the Hades, the Scourge, and the Botany up against the Desolate Grave class dreadnought. Ah, okay, this is actually the first ship of its class. This is the Desolate Grave of the Desolate Grave class. Interesting. Okay, so we've got a spinal magnetic cannon, which is something we want eventually too. Missile bay, torpedo bay, torpedo bay, torpedo bay, point defense particle beams. We're going to kill the frigate first. I think we can manage this. There's Ganymede in the background. They put the dreadnought up front. We're not going to priority target anything immediately, because we're going to hard burn to starboard, and then we're going to address the target. We're not going to forget about the escorting ship this time. So something like that, and then trust that the PD is able to intercept. Trust that the PD is able to intercept the incoming spinal mount mag cannon, because if that thing hits, we're basically dead. It'll be extremely high velocity, and it'll have a lot of hit points. Now, hopefully we're engaging the smaller ship first, because the smaller ship is going to provide... Yeah, we are. The smaller ship's going to provide a significant chunk of the PD, but also be considerably easier to take out. Looks like the missiles and the mag rounds are incoming. The burn here might not be enough in order to dodge the mag rounds. What we are going to do is tell Hades to padlock, and we're actually, despite my plan to kill the frigate first, we're going to point the nose at the dreadnought, because that's where the most dangerous fire is coming from. Actually, it's not off axis too much. We'll engage the frigate, but we might have to readdress the nose if necessary. Waiting for Scourge to come around to bring its prow laser into play, because those phases are in Guardian mode. You can see how much fire is required to kill. These big slugs are from the coaxial. They're hard to kill. I'm going to tell Hades to priority target the Desolate Grave, because I want the nose pointed towards all the incoming. Looks like the frigate is almost dead. Okay, the frigate is dead. So everyone now priority target the Desolate Grave. I think our PD is going to be able to handle the firepower. And the thing doesn't mount... The key is the thing doesn't mount any lasers. And without phasers, there's a limit to its combat endurance. It's also bloody slow. So what I'm identifying now is that we can probably take everyone off padlock. The incoming fire has started to lessen. Now what we want to do is start moving into a sort of a pursuit profile. Something like this. Because we've got the acceleration and DV advantage over the thing. We just want to be able to continue to engage it. Oh, wow. Beautiful, beautiful hits. Beautiful hits. Good kill. Good kill. That's our first capital class vessel destroyed. And it required 2 of our battleships to do it, but we have, as you can see, we've got the firepower to accomplish it. Now, their weapons are very dangerous. The thing is, I brought an awful lot of PD. Botany is a pure PD boat with PD boosting laser engines. Hades and Scourge both have a bunch of phaser point defense boosted by laser engines. They both took damage, but that's okay. Looks like this is interesting. Neither of these ships included exotics. That's why we haven't looted any. So they were probably the low-tech. When the aliens are low on exotics but trying to build quickly, they can build sort of disposable ersatz ships that are less powerful but don't require them to use exotics. Exotics are the thing they only have available in limited quantities. So that's a sign the aliens are prioritizing building up over making sure that every one of their ships is as good as possible. Let's fly back to the Io Fortress. Battlefleet Jupiter's mission is accomplished. Continue to thin the herd. Now, good old Epicurus Station here, its remodeling continues. It just needs some more agriculture to reduce its water and volatile upkeep, but it's now putting in a handy 1,500 cash a month in exchange for 33 boost, but we weren't doing anything else with it anyway. Another geriatric station is also in construction to help stabilize the money until the antimatter money train can come online. Alright, our scan of Io is complete. Let's take a look. So in terms of sites, it's not incredible. There's a lot of metal here, there's a lot of metal here. We can get good value out of some of these locations. There's obviously no water, but we can just offset the water upkeep. There is very little in the way of fissile materials, but this is probably worth landing a couple of bases, which is what we will do. We need to wait for the construction module in orbit before we can found the outpost, but we now have a scan complete. What I can now do is take Foxtrot 71, which is our local ship, and we can fly it maybe to Callisto next, and begin a scan there. Good old Australia Post. They always deliver, they just might take a while. I've noticed the aliens are starting to get a little more serious. This is one of many ships that is rallying into a second Doom fleet, I believe, at one of their asteroid bases. This is something entirely new. This is some sort of battle cruiser with a wet mass of 15,000 tons. All I know is it's got like a sleek, deadly look to it. I've never seen a ship like this before. They're grouping, I think, about 8 vessels, including some high-grade combat ships around one of their asteroid bases. It just looks like they're forming a few more battle fleets after I pinched off some of the smaller ones, but I'm going to keep doing exactly what I've been doing. We've got another mostly unarmed transport attempting to bring an alien agent to Earth, but before he can crash land, let's engage and shoot him down. As much as Max is entirely a match for these guys on the surface, it's much easier to kill them in space than in orbit. I do not know why all 4 of my ships were damaged, but you know what, as long as none of them are destroyed, I'm happy. We will redeploy that fleet back to repair, and all will be well. Oh, we're in agent assignment phase. That's why I couldn't control it. I've also just researched transnational management, freeing up 90 CP. I believe the EU costs about 100, so we're going to be a little bit over, but I can manage that. Public opinion in the EU is up to 63, still boosting further, so you know what this means. Max is going in. The people of Europe cry out for better leadership than their evil corporate overlords, who are doing bloody 18% spoils, the bastards. Don't ruin the EU before I can get to it. Anyway, Max is going to go in and bring them freedom. And at that point, we will have Eurasia, Europe, the United Commonwealth, and the United States of Northern America. If we're able to consolidate the UK and the EU, if we're able to do some consolidation here in general, we'll then have a whole bunch of CP cap available, which means either a new superstate in Africa, maybe something like the Caliphate, or we can finally throw the Protectorate out of China. Now, it's not full control, but Max has delivered us 1 point in the European Union. Unfortunately, it's done some damage to the democracy values in the process, so what we're going to really prioritize is just democratization above all else. But what we need is to control the executive and then throw the other points out, hoping basically to start the executive consolidation timer, which is going to be the barrier for basically everything. We need to be able to ally the United Kingdom, the United States, etc., and we need to be able to federate and unify. But there you go. We at least have a foothold in the European Union. There is hope. Now, Io Fortress has its construction module complete, so we can now land, I believe, on the planet. So where do we want to land first? I'm thinking nobles and base metals are my biggest concern right now, and there are no real good fizzle sites. So Bactria Regio is probably a good start, as is Tarsus Regio. Let's pick Tarsus Regio for the good mixture of standards and whatnot. And this will be our first proper colony on Io. What I'm going to do here is I'll set up a set of fusion arrays, a colony mining complex, a couple of maybe some command centers to offset, probably not, maybe rely on Mercury, maybe one or two. Agriculture facilities, you know the deal. We don't have a huge amount of resources banked, so we can probably get one or two stations queued up. I want to get resources flowing. But again, MC is going to be a little bit of a problem until we can consolidate the European Union. Then we're going to run out of Earth-based spots to build MC after a bit. So we're going to have to be creative with our space creations. But for the moment, 404 is not bad. I reckon I can get another 15 out of Earth. So we're safe to create a few more complexes. Our flotilla around Jupiter hasn't been able to harass much lately because it didn't have a shipyard to repair or refuel at. That has now been fixed. So Hades and Scourge should be functional again soon, refueled and ready to go. Not bad. And there's our scan of Callisto done. Looks like there are some sites here which might be interesting. We haven't had much luck with mega fissile sites elsewhere, so this crater over here could be a good location for a base if we can properly defend it, or at least defend it long enough until it gets some surface defenses online. I could use some additional fissile materials, either to power fission engines or more likely to convert into antimatter. Good scan. Foxtrot 71, the good old Australia Post. Let's just make it official. Ozpost is, where's it going to fly next? I think Europa needs some scanning. And then it's probably time to consider, once we've reloaded the fleet, because BF Jupiter is going to resupply, it'll be able to create new outposts with its outpost kit. Maybe we go create an outpost on Europa, not Europa, on the stuff we just scanned in order to claim it as well. I've got 2 bases going up on Io. I'm gated by resources at this point, but this is going to be a good increase to metal in about 2/3 of a year's time. Fortifying this little rock out here isn't necessarily a bad thing, but there's more that Jupiter can offer us. In terms of the aliens, they've now got more than 110 ships, I believe, far more combat power than when they started, but the trimming operations are continuing. I'm not actually seeing any fleets anymore in the Jovian system. Instead, most of them are concentrating in the outer belt in a number of locations, and like these ones, they're all coming in to group up. These 2 are going to low Earth orbit. That looks like the gunships. These look like they're probably Hydra agents coming in to drop off, or they could just be gunships causing shit. Either way, the little conga line that's going on here, which is different to another alien fleet I saw, which is grouping up elsewhere and consolidating. This looks like a conga line that Battlefleet Terra is going to be able to deal with, 1 ship at a time. Too bad, aliens. The Death Fleet is a much better approach, and they're doing it in some places. But clearly here, I think they're so desperate to land an agent that they're going to make 4 attempts. It's not going to work for them. The war for influence in the European Union is going well. I'm also researching Europa Ascendant. Let's just fix the democracy and welfare issue as much as we can in the meantime. Something like that. 40% knowledge to fix democracy, 40% welfare to fix everything else. The initiative still wants to spend on military and mission control, but frankly, I'm not as interested. What we can do with Europa Ascendant is do things like absorb Turkey, and I think there might be a little bit more aside, and then we will set the stage in 177 days to start federating with these other countries. The potential for the mega blob will be born. Now, the mega blob is not investment point efficient, but the mega blob will, however, be hilarious, very CP efficient, and free us up to pursue some interesting conquests elsewhere, all with the goal of finally choking off the resources that the servants and the protectorate, and to an extent the initiative, need to operate at all. I don't have to worry about Earth. I want mankind to be united behind a single wholesome goal, like annihilating the aliens that have come to our system and attempted to enslave us. I'm not sure how many kills Max has made now, by the way, but it's a lot. Every time I see a servant or a protectorate member with stats I don't like, bang. We're not at the point now where we're triple or quadruple killing them at the moment. We're focusing instead on national conquest, but, it's always pleasant. It's a game, guys. Europa, now that it's been scanned, it has some sites that are interesting, in particular this one here, De Fed Regio. 28.9 nobles is pretty good, along with 63 metals. This is a good location. So this might be worth colonizing. Unfortunately, launching from Earth is always a pain, so Battlefleet Jupiter is going to have to get over here. I think one base on each body is probably a good idea, just to sort of claim them in inverted commas and have localized infrastructure with construction in case it becomes necessary. And this base here is probably the winner. So what I will do is Battlefleet Jupiter can transfer to Europa. That'll take, what, a day? Yeah, that'll take 1.45 days. Australia Post is running low on Delta V, so we're just going to send it back to the fortress to refuel, and that'll give it more freedom to burn around the Jupiter system doing the scans it needs to do. Now, because the Initiative are a bunch of scheming corpo bastards, they were in a bunch of wars, which is ruining the democracy value of the EU. So we're going to start by, I think, piecing out with probably Japan. And we're going to have to end all these wars one by one. Battlefleet Jupiter is back to refuel. That's good. And we've completed Europa. Well, I just said that Europe was going to be at peace, but I lied. Europe now needs to grow larger and absorb its claims before it absorbs everyone else in turn, or is absorbed itself. Let's pick up Advanced ECM module. That'll be useful. We're doing Hydra Biowarfare. Plasma Weapons is almost finished, so let's prioritize both of these level 2. In a couple of days, we will have Hydra Biowarfare complete. What a happy subject.
Policy direction complete.
We will seek peace with Angola. Actually, no, we will seek peace with Costa Rica. There we are. And I need to start looking at the European Union's claims. First of all, I think it's got a claim on Turkey, right? Yeah, so all of Turkey is now claimed. What else does Europe claim? Amsterdam, all this is fine. Rome, Naples, this is all Eurasian territory. This is all fine. This is all stuff that's Eurasian Union, so that's going to get anyway. I don't believe it got any claims at all. I'm surprised that there's no claims on former French colonies in North Africa, but I guess that makes a degree of sense considering it's bloody 2039. So instead, the only one I think we really need to absorb is Turkey, with 14 sweet mission control. So, how many armies in Europe have navies? Looks like most of them. Europe is actually... no, only 2. Okay, so the Europeans may need support from the Americans or the POMs. The POMs are closer, so 3 divisions of Brits. If we coup Turkey first, we can move their armies out of the way. I don't think it's worth waiting. How much does it cost? 11. We could technically afford it and then peacefully unify Turkey, but it's going to ruin so much about the EU. So instead, look at this. Look at this. Not good. So we are instead going to absorb it. It's going to do even worse things to our inequality, but we're fixing that as fast as we can. We're going to have to do some repair work on all these countries afterwards anyway, but we will have the mega blob, or at least something close to it. The other one we can absorb, of course, Ireland. Throwing the servants out of there would be a genuine pleasure, and I'm sure the British military would be keen to assist their European comrades in liberating Ireland from the servants. Now here I actually sort of agree with Banerjee. If humans can turn something into a weapon, they probably will, as long as it makes an efficient or effective or a cheap. As long as there's a reason to weaponize something, they'll probably weaponize it. But now we have plasma. Plasma does less damage than coils, so it's less outright devastating than coil weapons. So MAC cannons, Halo-style MAC cannons, are the most damaging non-nuclear / antimatter weapons you can build, but plasma weapons, as I've said, can't be affected by PD, so certainly an advantage there. I'm considering going antimatter propulsion, but it's not a huge rush. Mission to Saturn is probably the next obvious pick, because we want to be able to engage alien bases there. So I'm not sure I need to prioritize it above where it is at the moment. Let's get a rival culture and everything first. And then we'll consider whether or not we want to prioritize mission to Saturn. I am building a vessel to go out there, but it won't be ready for some time, so I think we're good. Also, more nanofabs finished. The money situation is starting to equalize. We have a raiding fleet at the moment. HF01 is out, about to do raiding duty, so it should hit its targets relatively soon. The aliens are building up. I'm just trying to stay ahead of the build-up as much as possible. Now, you'll remember I said that I hadn't played past about 2035 before, so this is all new to me. One thing I didn't know, for example, is how much marine defense your average alien base, and this is a pretty small alien base, might have. The answer is with 15 marine strength, so that is 3 modules of level 3 marines, we've got a 23% chance to make this assault. I may as well roll the 1 in 5, but that gives me hope. If I can build some truly massive marine tenders or just a larger flotilla, I can definitely bring enough level 3 marines to storm this thing. You never would have managed with level 1 marines, it would have just required an insane number of ships and modules. But with level 3s, this is possible. The Xenos have just launched a new ship in Jupiter, so we are going to engage it and destroy it. What sort of ship is it? It's a Corvette, so this should be fine. Operational, great. Now, the station itself cannot bombard Ganymede, so while there is no ship in orbit, I'm considering settling one of these. This is the one. Perrine Reggio. This site is fantastic. So, let's settle ourselves down here. This would be Jupiter, Ganymede base, 1, trollolol, because there is a station in orbit. And I will get this set up with a couple of battle stations, some fusion reactors. So let's put for power generation down here. I'm using these because they're faster to build, and I'm not worried about space at the moment. We'll put 2 battle stations to defend it from orbital bombardment. Colony mining complex, agriculture complex, command center, and then I think we're basically done with the basic build. If we want to, we could throw a manufacturing complex on there for future build speed, but then we'd have to expand the power network anyway. I don't think I need to. So that thing, if it comes online, is going to be glorious. But it needs to survive. So 180 days under the protective guns of Battlefleet Jupiter sounds like just what the Doctor ordered. The battle station, the Shattered Sky Station, well, that can't actually do anything. Max is so good at this coup thing that he just rolled against a 96 for Turkey, clearing the Exodus faction out of power. That's okay, I'll deal with them in a moment. Let's see what their relations with me are, and whether that puts us at war. Unfortunately, it does, which is a little unfortunate, so I'm going to have to get them off the war status, if only because I don't want their ships annoying any of my stations, although I guess everything I have has defenses, so not really a problem. I just want the Exodus ships to be firing on aliens or on the servants or the protectorate rather than me, so if I locate any of their counselors, I'll give them some technology or something, but I want Turkey. That's 93.3 million people. There's some potential here, but most importantly, there's 14 mission control, which belongs in the European Union. Let's get it done. And let's not forget that while Humanity First is doing the correct thing and purging all the aliens, we're also trying to save the Earth. So the economy priority, 10% less carbon dioxide globally, national investment points in welfare increased by 5%. Love it. Now that we're finishing off plasma weapons and stuff like that, we should be in a pretty good position to do some other cool stuff. I kind of want to finish their purpose, but this antimatter beam core reactor, it's going to take forever to research and we kind of need to get started, so let's get started. Antimatter propulsion is also in the works. Hydra biowarfare is about to complete. And the Marines did fail. That's okay. The odds were not exactly in our favor. Now, Victor 15, are you docked? Yes, Victor 15 is docked at the relevant station. So HF01 is going to return to Earth, to Space Adelaide, and I'm going to think about how many more Marines I need to build up and bring to this location. I'm thinking of building a dedicated Marine boat. Something probably using the same battleship hull as everything else, just for speed, occupying all the utility slots, not needing any boosts. I just think it actually will be slightly more efficient than using another Super Emu monitor. So I will get one of those in construction. Well, I think it's about time for our mission technology, Hydra biowarfare, the revelation that, for all their arrogance, the Hydra have a deep-seated fear of biological assaults. Let's see what Colonel Castillo has to say about it. We've completed the Research Hydra biowarfare objective. I can't believe I'm saying this, but we have some good news. We finally learned why Hydras are so frantic about the possibility of biological warfare. Those ferrocytes they talk about to each other, they use to talk to each other, go straight into the most vulnerable parts of the Hydra systems without being filtered at all, which means that if those ferrocytes contain something harmful, it gets full access. It's like a human eating poison, except a Hydra can't vomit or spit it out. There's bad news too, of course. While ferrocytes make it incredibly easy to infect a Hydra with a bioweapon, that doesn't make them any easier to kill. The virologists have tried a dozen different viruses designed to attack Hydra tissue or cell structure. None worked. The Hydra immune system is just too strong. As soon as a virus started to spread, the Hydra leukocytes would adapt and wipe it out. Okay, so this is the part that isn't going in the after action report. You can see where this is going. Humanity First is looking for a more. Basically, Humanity First identifies that if the Hydra are scared of biological warfare, then perhaps that's a route that we should go down. The new project is available. Now, this Great Europe project, Baku, Moscow, Rostov on Don, Kazan, this is all Russian territory, which we're going to inherit anyway, so we don't need it. But there we are. We have a mission technology in place. I kind of want to pick up their purpose. I'm not sure what it will give us. And then wormholes should probably be done at some point too. We're starting to get quite a few things that I want to research again. I researched all the actual drives I want for the moment. I don't think I want anything that increases boost. I'm not investing in boost anymore. Do I want to research Titans for 10,000? There's a lot of other stuff. Let's start on plasma batteries and go from there, because these might eventually upgrade the weapon systems on our defense platforms, stuff that can get past PD. Propping up our poor resistant cousins is just what we do. Meanwhile, combined American, British, and European forces mass for operations in Turkey. Europe will grow larger. Alright, so looking at the strategic map as I do from time to time, we've got a couple of things happening. The big one is that we've got an awful lot of stuff concentrating towards Ganymede. Everything will be arriving in May. Now, if we look at the actual construction time on all of our facilities, you'll also notice, March, 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 March. Lots of stuff arriving in Ganymede, like an absolute swarm of stuff towards Ganymede. Huge concentration of vessels. If we look at Ganymede itself and our site there, the battle stations are not going to be ready until July. This presents a problem. I'm pretty sure that even if we slap down layered defense arrays, February, March, April, May, like, worth it? We'll attempt it. We can fit. I'll be willing to power down other stuff. Although none of our power generators are going to be ready in time, are they? So we have to slap down one of these. This may not be enough. So Battlefleet Jupiter is going to have its work cut out for it. So I'm actually considering transferring HF1 to IO. I can make it there by 11th April, which is before most of the stuff arrives, but after some of the stuff arrives. So Battlefleet Jupiter is going to have to do some of the engagements by itself if we are to protect all of our colonies out there. There's two options available to us, and I'm going to probably stop at this point and think on them. This is probably the end of the gaming session, if not the video. I have two options. I can take HF01, which has now been reinforced with 2 extra marine transports, and try and hit some bases while all of the aliens are congregating in Jupiter. This is exactly what I wanted, right? This is exactly what I asked for. For all the aliens to start grouping up and fighting around Jupiter. A lot of our presence there is fortified, a lot of it there is safe, a lot isn't. So I can either go and harass their bases, start clearing them out of the asteroid belt while I'm waiting, with the notable exception of Victor 80, which is going to go back to Earth and we're going to have to burn its Delta V again. Or I can send HF01 our primary battle fleet, which brings 3 more battleships to play, merge it with Jupiter, which has 2 battleships, and take a force of 5 battleships and 4 marine transport/PD boats, and try and hit each alien force at least partially in detail, destroying a lot of this combat power in the process. I am actually not sure whether I'll cut the episode here or not, but this is a serious question. Do I start engaging in a battle royale in Jupiter as expected, trying to trim down alien ship numbers, or do I take advantage, basically give up the Ganymede base, hide behind my defenses, and send send HF-01 to go and engage enemy bases? If I was desperate, I could even detach, say, one of the battleships of Battlefleet Terra, maybe the Alecto or the Harrow. Sydney is always going to be the guardian of planet Earth. I could detach some of these ships, attach them to HF-01, and burn basically all of my fleet power to Jupiter. Then try and catch the ships as they arrive, maybe even burn some intercept courses, anything to pick apart the fleet before it's able to arrive, because what the alien behavior means is they will join together into a Doom fleet once they arrive. So, a lot to think about. I'll be back shortly. Alright, I'm back after doing a little bit of counting, consideration, and most importantly, I made a spreadsheet. I went through and counted up every alien fleet that's heading into the sort of Jupiter system, its combat strength, its composition, and importantly, the date on which it's going to arrive. In total, the Xenos are sending 28 separate units with 70 warships involved, something about like 20,000 combat power overall, so about as powerful, twice as powerful as Victor 80 overall. But their arrival times are spread out between, let me check, early March, and the latest one is arriving in November. So we've got a significant sort of swath of time. I thought back and forth over how to approach this problem. I have 2 essential options available to me as I figure. The first is I pull out of the Jovian system entirely, in which case they probably arrive, consolidate steadily as they arrive. So these guys will conga into a giant Doom fleet. They'll destroy my presence in the Jovian system, but I'm not risking any fleet assets in order to do so. And it might, buy me some time for my inner system assets. The problem with that is it then creates a Doom fleet which has more Delta V and twice as much combat power as Victor 80, which is enough to scare me already. So what I think I have to do instead is fight a Jovian campaign. That is, fight an extended asymmetric defensive battle in Jupiter's system. I have to do this until more of the bases are able to defend themselves, and also to stop the aliens grouping up into a death ball that's capable of overrunning the fortified stations. For example, the IO Fortress originally had 3 battle stations, and I've thrown up 2 layered defense arrays just to give it a little bit more as quickly as possible. That's something, but if all these ships grouped together, they would run over an orbital with 3 battle stations and 2 layered defense arrays. Getting them up is important, but we need a solution that doesn't involve losing the entire system, I think. Just I think. So here is what I am thinking, and I won't start this episode, but here is the overall plan. Back at Earth, I've split off the 3 Super Emu class transports into this Anzac task force here. What I'm planning to do is take this, because the aliens have now left a lot of their ground bases, their mining bases in the asteroid belt unguarded. I reckon I can shoot the Anzacs with their additional marine points. I think there's about 45 points worth of marines in this force, to see if I can take any of those bases and destroy them while the aliens are busy. Meanwhile, HF-1 has been reinforced by stripping the home fleet, so Battlefleet Terra, down to just the Sydney. Sydney will be responsible for protecting Earth by itself, at least for the next maybe 5 months, until additional ships can be constructed. Sydney will have to intercept any scout ships, agent ships, and when Victor 80 arrives back with its motherships, it's going to be down to the Sydney to run it out of fuel and send it home. Stripping it down frees up HF-1 to take 5 of our battleships, Harrow, Alecto, Desolation, Melbourne, and Sydney-B, which I should probably rename, it's just a refit of the Sydney class, and to burn those to Jupiter as fast as possible. Burning to the Jupiter system, so burning to Ganymede, is something that I can get. I actually want to burn to the IO Fortress. I can get there in April, after many of the aliens do, but before some of them. That's okay. So a full burn, 7.2 weeks, add a day or two to refuel at the other end. So by about the mid-April, HF01 can increase our combat power accordingly. The problem is what to do until that point. Battlefleet Jupiter, until then, is basically on its own. Battlefleet Jupiter is 2 battleships, Hades and Scourge, plus the Australia Post, which I can fly back to IO Fortress. It'll get there in 15.6 hours if I do a full burn, which I think I should. The Australia Post is a colony ship, but it does mount 4-point defense phaser arrays, so it might actually be handy. It and the other scientific ship in Jupiter, the Jovian system, however, do weaken this fleet by having less Delta V. So it's up to these 2 battleships, may as well call them Ajax and Achilles. Their job, I think, is going to be to fight as many intercept battles against victors as they come in towards the Jupiter system, intercept them, fly back, refuel, intercept, fly back, never fighting consolidated fleets, and try and reduce the number of alien fleets that arrive. I'm hoping, I did some rough back of the envelope numbers, I think I can reduce the incoming victors by between a third and a half, I think, reliably, depending on how often I do my intercepts and how long it takes the victors to bombard targets like that surface base. If it buys me a couple of days, Battlefleet Jupiter may be able to refuel and intercept. Remember, if Jupiter's going to run them out of their DV and actually catch them, even if they decide to run, it's going to need to spend most of its DV for every intercept it makes. The basic goal here, I think, is to survive until HF01 makes it to Jupiter. And even then, we're going to have to continue engaging alien forces as they arrive and before they can consolidate, because if all these alien forces group up into a death ball, HF01 and Battlefleet Jupiter, even all of my ships on the map combined all at once, would be run right over. Because we've got some dedicated alien warships in the mix now. Dreadnoughts, battleships, a battlecruiser, some stuff that's got exotic technology on it. Like, there's some good stuff mixed in with all the trash here. The problem is, if it groups up with the trash provides PD coverage that keeps the good ships alive, and that's where the killing power is. So I think that's the plan. I think we're about to fight a grand Jovian campaign, an asymmetric fleet war, in order to defend our holdings, to buy time for reinforcements from Terra to arrive. That's the plan. It seems, I'm not sure what I did to provoke this. It was either setting up a base under the eyes of their station and calling it trollololol and deliberately angering them. Might have been that. Or, is there a fleet here? No, but they have settled us. They have settled a colony. Interesting. I think they always had that colony. I'm not sure. Either way, they are on the ground at Ganymede now. Let's just check that base. Yeah, they've probably had that for a while because that looks like a fully developed base. So it was either building a base there, or isn't it coincidental that we completed our mission technology involving an existential threat to the Hydra species, and suddenly about 50% of all of the combat power in the solar system is burning for Jupiter? You be the judge. In any case, I'm going to leave it here with one extra note. I've just finished the technologies that increase the selling price for resources. So I can now sell, I don't want to sell 56 exotics. I want to sell 2 exotics for 45,000 cash. That's a pretty good deal. You can see here at 45,000 per unit, antimatter is eventually going to be my planned solution for money. That should process. I'm not sure if that process or not. When I run the time, I'll be able to check. That should be able to buy me implants for all of my counselors, boost my CP limit, and give them the advantages that they're going to need back on Earth, because they're now going to be basically alone. It's going to be one battleship guarding Earth, nothing at Mars or Mercury. Everything is going to burn maximum speed for the place that I think this stage of the campaign is going to be decided. The battle for the Jovian system is about to begin.